We're going to learn about the roles of teachers in classroom management. Actually, module 3 is about classroom management, managing classroom with language, and then organizing the classroom, knowing how to organize the classroom based on your understanding of roles of teachers and learners. Okay, so, but the focus here is on your role as a teacher. So if you take on the right role, your classroom is going to be well managed. That's what we're going to learn in this segment. So, a teacher's role. At different stages of your lesson, you take on different roles. Sometimes you're a planner, sometimes you're a manager, sometimes you're monitoring and observing, and sometimes you're a facilitator. Sometimes you're a diagnostician, you're diagnosing problems. What is this learner not getting right? Let me ask them, or let me give them a little test. Sometimes you're a language resource. Miss, excuse me, miss, what's the meaning of idiosyncrasy? Then you become a language resource. You're like the dictionary. Oh, it means so and so. Sometimes you're an assessor. At some other time in the lesson, you're a rapport builder. I want you to work together. All right. Okay. So work together, cooperate, collaborate, etc. So now, I have a question to ask you. The first question, please type in the chat your answers in the chat. At what stage of the lesson is a teacher a planner? What stage of the lesson is a teacher a planner? And let's not just only assume that it is during the lesson, it could be before the lesson, it could also be in the lesson. But can you identify a stage before or in the lesson when the teacher is a planner? Waiting for answers. I'm sure you're typing, so I'm waiting. And then another question, at what stage in the lesson is a teacher a manager? What stage? Okay, so before the lesson, both of you, two people have said the teacher is a planner. Very good. They plan the activities, they plan everything. It's not the best for us to be planning within the lesson. Okay, it's not a good idea because if you're planning within the lesson, you are wasting resources, you're wasting time. You should have planned the lesson before we started. Thank you very much. Think about your lesson. When are you a manager? What are you managing? Who are you managing? Think about it. When is a teacher a manager? So we're talking about the different roles that we take. So I'm a planner when I'm planning a lesson. When am I a manager? Within the lesson, at what stage in the lesson? What are we doing at that stage when I'm functioning as a manager? What am I managing? Perhaps maybe think of one or two things we manage in the lesson within the lesson. We can manage time, very good. Someone says resources, and even our students, humans. Great, well done. Now, when am I? Oh, I think I've given that answer there already. During group work, we manage, monitor, we observe, we monitor, observe our students during group or pair work. We manage times and pupils. Thank you for all your contributions. Now, when am I likely to be a facilitator? Hmm. When am I likely to be a facilitator of learning? Think of some of the things I'm doing. I don't want to tell them, I want to facilitate. So, at what stage, what am I actually doing to facilitate the lesson? Think about it. When am I a facilitator? And I've used a particular word over and over again in all the modules I've taught. There's a word, and I've demonstrated something a teacher does. That's an example of facilitating a lesson. You're not telling them, you are doing something. So describe when I am a facilitator. Give me an example of when I'm a facilitator. I'm creating opportunities for learners to understand. It's one of the approaches or some of the approaches that we learned in module 1, approaches or methods for teaching, shows us as facilitators. Using prompts, yes. Asking questions, we're facilitating, eliciting information, using guided discovery. If I'm using the guided discovery method, I'm a facilitator. I'm likely a facilitator. Okay. If I'm using another method, what's the other method? Task-based learning. I'm also facilitating learning by asking them to try it out themselves. And then once in a while, they come in to ask me, should we do this? Should we do that? So those are examples of facilitation. If I'm doing presentation, practice, and production, I'm not facilitating learning when we're presenting. Okay, I'm telling them, I'm presenting, I'm showing them, I'm sharing knowledge. So at that point, students I may not be eliciting, it could be part of my presentation really, but the PPP method is not as flexible as the TBL, which is task-based learning, or the guided discovery. My favorite approach is in English language teaching is guided discovery. That's my favorite. And if I should take another approach, the next one that I would take based on my knowledge of learners would be TPR, total physical response. Look for any way I can get my learners to jump and dance and turn around and walk around and hop and do things in my classroom. Yeah, it's great for kids. Can also be great for adults because I've been in adult universities. As a student in my master's program, my teacher used total physical response. In my Cambridge CELTA, we use total physical response. So let me give you an example when we made a total physical response. When we were learning in my master's program, when we were learning about the course book, my tutor in my MEd class drew a line across the classroom, in front of the classroom, from one end to the other end. And then he identified two parts, divided the line into two. These are people who love using course books. These are people who don't like using course books as much. So, depending on your love for course books, can you find your place within this line? And so we got up and we started arranging ourselves, as we walk into the line. Where should I stay on this line? Should I stay at the edge? He made it a continuum. So you go from you don't like the textbook, I like it a little bit, I like it more, I like it, to I very much like the course book. So we're arranging ourselves in the order. And he could look and he could say, so why don't you like the course book? He can point to someone because they've arranged themselves in a line. That's a total physical response. And so right there in front of a class, people were sharing their opinions. I don't like the course book because I think it limits me. I think I was one of those who were on the side of, look, I don't particularly like the course book. I'd rather do without a course book. While some was, look, life is a lot easier with a course book. They are at around the end of the continuum, the line that has been drawn. Okay, so that's a total physical response. So it's not only when the teacher says jump, dance, demonstrating verbs. Not only that, a total physical response could be doing jumbled, what do you call it? Jumbled, no, what's that called? Is that really, I don't know if I'm using the right expression, calling it a jumbled paragraph. Maybe that's not the right name, but I remember running across, it's not jumbled really, running across the classroom. The text is with my teammates and I have to read the text, but to read the text, I have to go and get the question. Okay, so no, sorry, my colleagues have to find the answers to questions that I don't have. So the runner, which was me, there was a secretary and there was a runner, and the rest of my colleagues are there to support. And then I have to run across the classroom, take a question, repeat it, cram it in my head, and run back and say, okay, number one is, when did Mr. So and so go to school? And they will search through the text. 2009. And then I'd run back to the next question. And then sometimes while I'm on my way, I'm on my way back. I've forgotten the question. Otherwise, you can put the text on the wall also, and then the questions are here. And I'm probably going to pick the questions from here and go there, you know? So that's a total physical response. Maybe I've not said it in the right order, but generally you can run from the text or run to the question and run back to the text, find the answer, run, you know? So that's a total physical response. My third preferred method for English language teaching would be task-based learning. Why? Because it's also not academic. I mean, it's not the teacher presenting, it's students trying out how to carry out a task, write a formal letter, write an informal letter, write a newspaper article. And we usually do it in groups so that we can all support ourselves as we do it group by group. They're working. And so everybody's resource is going into the activity. And once in a while, the student will call to the teacher, we need an address, don't we? Okay, so should it be in the right side of the letter or on the left hand side? The teacher will say, is it your address or your own address? Okay, put your address on the right side of the paper. Ah, thank you. Another group calls and says, we want to put the address, but should we put it? It's the address of the company we're writing to. Should we put it at the top of the page or just below the personal address? The teacher will say, put it here below. Task-based learning. So they're trying out how do we sign a letter, a formal letter, sign off? Should we say yours sincerely, or should we say bye? What should we say? The teacher tells you. After we finish the task, then the teacher teaches the lesson based on what she's observed during the activity. So you see, I went into teaching methods to draw out the fact of facilitating a lesson. And I think I took too much time doing that. I'm really, really sorry, but I hope you have learned something about it, that the roles that we take on are significant in the different stages of the lesson. They help our students to learn very easily. So I described facilitating. I love to facilitate. Unfortunately, we're not face to face, so I'm trying to like get you to participate, trying to elicit information from you. And a teacher could be a diagnostician, a language resource, etc. So in a task-based learning approach to teaching, the teacher is a resource for the learners.